guys, and welcome back to the channel, Nate's Pink Bookshelf. My name is Nate Denise. For those of you who are new to the channel, or who just happened to stumble across this video, and today's video is going to be my November wrap-up. You did see me in this outfit already if you watched my November book haul, but this is going to be my wrap-up. It is November 30th as I'm recording this video, and I still have one book to complete, but I'm determined to finish this book before 11:59 p.m. Fingers crossed, because I'm actually going to families in a few, so fingers crossed. But yeah, so for this month I read a total of 18 books. I was aiming for 19. No, actually, yeah, I did I read 18 or 19? No, I read 18 books, okay, not 19. But on average I read anywhere between 15 to 18 books a month. I just love reading, and I also sign up for a lot of like blog tours and book reviews and things like that through different programs. So I tend to get a lot of books that I have to read, and I typically on average read one book within 2 days. If it's more than 300 pages, then I will take about 2.5 days to read a book. But on average it takes me about 2 days to read a book, and I read multiple books at the same time. So yeah, that's how I can read so quick. I don't have any stats. Starting January 2020, I will start doing stats on like the YA books that I read, adult books, the genres and things like that. But total 18 books, excuse me. So we're gonna dive in. The first 3 books were done through ebook or audiobook, so I will throw images right here for you guys. But the first one was American Gods by Neil Gaiman. That one I gave a 4.5 star rating. Oh my gosh, I enjoyed that book. It is adult fantasy. I loved it so much. It was so good. My only problem was every time they gave a side story for the different gods, it kind of pulled me out of the story. But overall, I really loved the dang story. It was amazing. I did end up watching the show. I didn't finish the show yet, but it was so good. It was so good. Mr. Wednesday, he was a hot mess. Mr. Wednesday was a very interesting character, and sorry guys, I'm trying to open it up to my review for you guys. But Mr. Wednesday was such a hilarious guy, and it was crazy to find out who he was. Like, I wasn't expecting it. Like, from the very beginning of the first episode as well as the first chapter, I knew that there was something off about him just because of how he just like popped up in the story. But there's something about Mr. Wednesday that just, I loved him a lot. Then we have Mr. Shadow, which I'm here for. The actor that played Shadow in the show. Oh my god. But Shadow was such an amazing character. I loved him so much because he was so cool and smooth. Granted, he was black, of course, but he was smooth with everything that he did, everything that he said. Even when he had to fight for his life, he was smooth with it. I loved Shadow, like, and the way he handled things concerning his wife. I will say the show is a lot more interesting than the book because they do change some things up. The show, I had to stop watching. It was the episode with the djinn. Yeah, there is lesbian, as there is LGBTQIA representation in the book, but in the show it kind of like threw me for a loop. I was just like, wait a minute, hold on. I had to mute it and speed it up because it was just too much for my eyes to see. But it was such a good read. Just those side stories with the gods kind of got to me, especially the ones with Belquist. I think that's her name. She was a little creepy in the book, and the show made her even creepier. And how she took, like, how she killed people, just, if you watch the show, your mind will be blown. I do recommend you guys check out the book. It was really, really good. It is a super long book. It's over 500 pages. But I loved it. I read it and listened to the audiobook at the same time. So it was great. Gave that 4.5 star rating. So the next book I read was The Edge of Reason by Jay Saman. I think that's how you say that. And it's from the Edge series. It's book 3. It's like a companion series. And I gave this book 4 stars. This was a really good book, but I wanted more from it. I needed more. It basically follows Margot and Drew, excuse me, and they are sort of like male-female best friends. Drew dated Margot's friend, and she has 3 rules, which I'm actually gonna read right now to you guys, because I think that's what sparked me. So rule 1, don't have sex with someone you work with. Rule 2, don't have sex with your friend's ex-boyfriend. Rule 3, don't have sex with your best friend who also happens to be the same ex-boyfriend of your friend. And rule 4, don't ever under any circumstances fall in love with your best friend. So you guys can kind of figure it out. Basically, Margot was dating a guy. The guy had went back, I think, to Europe or somewhere else, came back with his wife. Apparently, he was married. She didn't know, so Drew came to her rescue and kissed her, just to get her ex kind of like upset. And in Drew kissing her, they realize they have feelings for each other but don't want to step over that boundary line. Drew is all for stepping over the boundary line. Margot kind of like is like, yes, no, yes, no. It was a lot of cat and mouse going back and forth. It was a cute read, but I needed more. I will say her ex, what was his name? Her ex was crazy. The one that was married, I don't even remember his name. What was his name? Julian. Oh, Julian was ridiculous. First of all, you were married, then yeah, your wife came and did, like, his wife was crazy. Oh my god, she's crazy. That woman was crazy, and Julian is just as crazy as his wife. It was good. Gave it 4 stars. I definitely do want to read the first 2 books in the companion series, but I need more of Margot and Drew because they were cute. We love them. We ship them. So, yes. Following that, I read House of Ash and Brimstone. This is the first book in the Gatewalkers, I think it's a trilogy, but I'm going to say series, by Megan Starks, and I gave this 4.5 star rating. It was really good. Honestly, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I remember everything that happened, because I don't, but there were hellhounds, there were talking beasts, and magic, and weapons. Yeah, I can't remember right now, honestly, guys. I'm not going to lie because I read so many books, which is bad, but I know that I did enjoy it, and I know that I gave it a 4.5 star rating. I read it in 4 days, so like I wrote my rating here, which is why when I start my 2020 reading journal, I'm gonna do my like reviews differently. I'm gonna write some words just to kind of sum up because I honestly can't remember, which is bad, but it was a really good book. And the cover is gorgeous, so we have that. Okay, following that, I read an arc which was Coral by Sarah Ella, and this is a reimagining of The Little Mermaid. And you guys, this was so good. I gave it a 4-star rating. I really wanted to give it a 5, but this was such a good reimagining of The Little Mermaid. It is a fantastical kind of mind trippy story, and it follows Coral, who is a mermaid, Merrick, who is I can't say who he is, but he's one of the main characters, and Brooke. And the 3 of their lives kind of like intersect in such a weird way. And it's not until the end of the story that you realize what took place. And it is so good. This book really goes into depression and suicide and just mental illness and mental health, and a lot of the things that Brooke was dealing with as well as Coral was dealing with I could relate to on personal levels, and it was just really executed really well. I really enjoyed this. Totally recommend many people read this because it's so good. And this book came out on November 12th, so you can get yourself a copy, and it was really good. I totally enjoyed this. Definitely recommend it. Following that, I read another contemporary, and that's going to be A Thousand Fires by Shannon Price. I gave this 3.5 star rating. Just so you know, I'm not a thriller person. I'm not much of a contemporary kind of person. I like contemporary romances, but not just straight up contemporary. It's not my kind of thing. But I did enjoy this a lot more than I thought I would, which is why I ended up with a 3.5 star rating. This is sort of a reimagining of the Iliad. I don't know much about the Iliad, which I actually should know because we went over it in college and high school, but I don't remember those days. But it was really good. It does deal with gang violence, gun violence, and things like that. So if you're not into that, I wouldn't suggest reading this. The author does have an author note at the beginning just explaining that she's not for gun violence or gang violence or anything like that. But she wanted to do a different type of reimagining of the Iliad, which is why there are gangs and gun violence in this book. So I just want to say that, but this is great. It does follow 3 different gangs. The Stags, oh my god, I can't remember. I gotta look at this again. It's the Stags, and then there are the Boars and the Herons. And the Herons actually have like the old Herons and the young Herons. And her name is Valerie. Valerie has been wanting to join the Herons to sort of get revenge for her brother who was killed by the Boars, but she ends up getting recruited by the Stags, and she has a boyfriend. His name is Matthew. Is it Matthew? I think her boyfriend's name was Matthew. Yes, his name was Matthew. But there are some things concerning Matthew that kind of like pisses me off. Matthew was a cool guy up until things were revealed about him towards the end, and I like hated him. Like he's the worst. Jax is the leader of the Stags, and I really like him. He has this like bad boy brooding type of demeanor to him, and there's so much that goes on with Jax in relation to the herons and the boars, and it's insane. It takes you on a ride, a roller coaster ride. I enjoyed it enough, so I would reread this for myself, and I definitely do recommend you guys check it out. It's a really action-packed, fun read. So we have that. Okay, so the next book I read is one that I've been trying to read for like 1,000 years, like 1,000 literally, and that's going to be Etiquette and Espionage by Gail Carriger. This is the first book in the Finishing School series, and I gave this a 4-star rating. This was really funny. I love Sophrina, I think that's how you say her name. Yeah, Sophrina and her friends, and Madam, oh my god, what is her name? Madam Geraldine, and all of the teachers at her school. Is just such a fun ride, a roller coaster, action, werewolves, vampires, learning to be a lady while still learning to kill people. It's just like epic. And Sophrina learns a lot of stuff along the way, and she just has a natural knack for being a spy and things like that. So I enjoy this. I did listen to the audiobook as I read it, so I'm gonna have to reread the book physically, but I did mark a few things in my physical copy. If I could just find where it is. Like, I did mark a few things. I just didn't tab it up, so I'm gonna have to actually reread this again sometime soon. But I definitely did enjoy this. Following that, I read another contemporary, and that's going to be The How and the Why by Cynthia Han. This was such an emotional read. I gave this 4 stars. It follows a young girl. Oh my god, what's her name? Cassandra. It follows Cassandra, and she is currently 18 years old, and she's now curious about her birth mother. She is adopted, and she knows that she's adopted. Her mother and father tell her the story of how she was adopted. So you have the present time with Cassandra wanting to learn more about herself, and then you have the past, which is basically letters written from her 16-year-old mother at the time of the mom being pregnant. And the way this was written was really, really good. I enjoyed the emotional roller coaster, the cute little romance thrown in, the family aspects, and the way you see families shine in this story was really great. That ending kind of killed me. I was just like, is that the end? Like, what happened? Like, I need to know more, but I came to my own conclusions. So we're gonna leave it at that. But I did enjoy this. This was really, really heart-wrenching, gripping, contemporary romance. And I said contemporary romance. This was a really, really heart-wrenching and gripping contemporary fiction novel, and I loved it a lot. It was really great and definitely recommend it. Following that, I read A Royal Father by Linda Ferguson. This is book 3 in the Lion and the Butterfly trilogy. This is a biblical Christian historical fiction series based on a girl named Jerusha and her life with her children and her husband. And oh my god, I gave it 5 stars. I love the entire trilogy. I gave each book a 5-star rating, but this book really just makes it worth it. Like, reading the whole trilogy, just read the first 2 books just to get to this book. So good. Loved it. Loved the romance between her and Antonius. Loved the family aspects. I loved everything. It was amazing. It was beautiful. I do have a reading blog for this on my other channel, so if you guys are interested in seeing the reading blog, just click the eye on the screen to go check that out on my other channel. But this was such an emotional read. I loved it. I loved it. You see all the tabs. Can you see all the tabs? I loved it. So yeah, moving on. Next, I read Brent Weeks' The Way of Shadows, and I gave this a 4. I wanted to get a 5-star, but there was just certain things missing from it for me that I needed to know. Like, the world building was good, but it wasn't great. The magic system was epic, but I didn't really understand it. But the characters, oh my god, I love the characters. Oh my god. Azos, Kyler, Durzo, Mama K, Elaine, Jarl, Doggerel, Brat. It was so good. This was really, really good. A great start to the series. I'm definitely interested in diving into the sequel. I want to read it in December, but I'm probably not going to because it's so long. They're over 600 pages. I think there's 645 pages, but it's actually 677 pages in this book. It was epic. I enjoyed it so much. I definitely want to continue on though. So I gave this 4 stars, but I'm hopeful that the sequel will get a 5 stars because we need some more Logan. We need some Kyler, Mama K, little girl. I don't forgot the little girl name. What was baby girl name? I don't forgot her name. Yuli is her name. She has like a weird name, but they call her Yuli for short. But she was so adorable. Like, she was so adorable. So I'm ready for some more action, some more assassination attempts. I'm excited that Kyler now can use his talent, and he is such a bad behind, like, what boy. Like, I'm ready. So yeah, we have that. 4-star. The next book I read was The End of the Magi by Patrick W. Carr. I gave this a 4-star rating. As much as I enjoyed this book, the journey during the second half of this book just started to get on my nerve. You know, like, it's like the first half of the book was really great. There was a lot of epic scenes, action, you know, a lot of things taking place. The second half with the journey kind of like, it was dry for me. And then I felt like the ending was a little rushed, and that it was a sort of a cop-out with all of the scriptures thrown in. I felt like more time could have been taken for the end. It was just rushed. So I'll give it 4 stars, but I did enjoy it. Definitely do recommend it. This was really, really fun. And I mentioned this in my book haul, but this follows the Magi during the time of Jesus's birth. It kind of gives them a beginning and then an end up until the crucifixion and the resurrection of Jesus. So I enjoyed it enough to give it 4 stars. The next book I read is The Piper's Pursuit by Melanie Dickerson. This is book 10 in the Higgenheim series, which is a very long series. It is basically historical fiction that she has written to retell our favorite fairy tales, but with Christian faith aspects to it. Really enjoyed this. This is obviously a retelling of the Pied Piper. I've never actually read any of the Pied Piper stories, like, ever, so I didn't really understand. But when I got to the part concerning the Pied Piper, things started to, like, come back to my mind. But I gave it 4 stars. I love Stefan. He is so amazing. I hated him in The Warrior Maiden, which is book 9. I couldn't stand him in that book, but I really did find that he was redeemed in this book. And then Katarina, I don't know how you say her name. She's kick butt. She's awesome. Her stepfather rather, was a terrible man. Terrible man. But I enjoyed this nonetheless, and I can't wait to read the next book that comes out, which she has already released the cover for book 11, so I'm so stoked. This book comes out December 3rd, so it should be out by the time this video is posted, so you can get your hands on a copy of this already. Following that, I read a romantic suspense. It's Christian romantic suspense, and this is going to be Deadly Deceit by Natalie Walters. This is book 2 in the Harvard Secrets trilogy. Book 1 is Living Lies. Book 3 is going to be titled, OMG, what is book 3 called? I'm going to put the cover up top. But it's called Silent Shadows. I did read the little snippet of book 3 in the book, which was interesting. I definitely want to get my hands on book 1 because Vivian and Deputy, oh my god, what is his name? Deputy Ryan Frost are so cute together. They're funny, they're comical, and I loved it. So this was actually really shocking that I enjoyed it because, again, like I said, I don't do suspense novels. This one got 4 stars out of me, so that was really epic, and her writing was easy to flow with. So I definitely want to get my hands on the first book, read the first book, and then reread the sequel before the 3rd book comes out. So we have this book. The next book we have is going to be The Witchwood and Seabound by Ethan Proud. It's actually 2 books in one. Witchwood is the main story. Seabound is the novella, but they're both in this book. It's about 500 pages long. But I gave 4 stars. It was really, really good. I can never pronounce her name. Artemisia. I think that's how you say her name. Artemisia, I think. And the sheriff were both awesome. I love the fantasy aspects in it. This was a little bit suspenseful. I enjoyed it enough. Definitely want to reread this down the line. I had to read it really quickly, like in 2 days, because I was behind on writing my review. And I still haven't posted up my review, though I finished it. So I need to write my review. But I enjoyed it enough, and definitely will be rereading this at a slower pace so that I can fully enjoy the story the way it's meant to be enjoyed. But we have this book. The next book I have is Knight of the Silver Circle by Duncan M. Hamilton. This is going to be adult fantasy. This is book 2 in the Dragon Slayer series. I think, yes, the Dragon Slayer series. Book 1 is obviously Dragon Slayer. Now, I gave this book a 3.75 star rating. I have a love-hate relationship with this series. I enjoy the first book, like I really did, and the same thing with this book. I enjoyed the sequel. However, the writing style gets on my nerve. And what I mean by that is not that it's hard to flow with the story, but my gripe is that this is a lot of inner dialogue, a lot of internal thinking, a lot of inner dialogue what the characters are having with themselves. And it follows Gil, who is the main character, but you also have Solene and Amory, and then you have the actual dragons that get their own perspectives. And it's okay for the dragons because they can't really speak, obviously. Well, no, because this book actually revealed something about the dragons, which I thought was cool. But I don't care for internal dialogue. Like, it irritates me. And what I mean is, like, this goes. Alright, so the chapter is like 4 or 5 pages long. You literally only get, like, this bit from down here to here, which is going to be character dialogue, and then the rest is like internal thinking, and I can't stand it. Oh my god, this is so epic, especially when the action scenes happen, when like they're fighting the dragons. It's just like, can I have more dialogue being said? Can I? I'm loving it, but I can't give it the 4 star or 5 star that I want, just because that inner dialogue bores me. And I mean, the book can be really, really good, but because I'm just in your mind, I get bored. like really easily. And it's not that the characters themselves are boring. I'm just not a reader that likes inner dialogue, internal thinking. I prefer character interaction a lot more. That's just me as a reader. I'm not sure if any of you are like that, but I really enjoy the series so much. Trilogy, excuse me. So I'm excited for the third book. The third book is going to be called The Servant of the Crown. I'm stoked for it. I will leave my review for all of these books that I'm talking about down below if I have them up. But yeah, the first book I think I gave a 3.5 star rating or 3 stars. This one has a 3.75. I'm hoping the third book is a little bit better with like more character dialogue, because the way this ended, Faradon, we gotta talk about Faradon. And then I love Gil and Solene. They're just amazing. But yeah, I just, inner dialogue, I'm not for it at all. So we have that. But I did enjoy it and I loved it. So it's a mix. So we have that. Okay, so the next two books are going to be graphic novels, which I totally enjoyed. They're YA fantasy, and I love them so much. So we have Estranged by Ethan M. Eldridge. This deals with a changeling and a human who are switched at birth. And the changeling is now living a human life, but he's struggling with himself because he has powers. And then you have the human living in the Fey world. But he's struggling because they kind of like treat him like this object because he's a human child. And they end up becoming brothers in the end, and I loved it so much. Gave this 4-star rating. It was really cute and really funny. Following that, I read the sequel, which is The Changeling King, which was so good. Gave this 5 stars. I love this so much. The series is amazing. I love the characters. This one I actually ended up tabbing because it was so funny and some things took place. Here are what the drawings look like. So this is the changeling here, and then you have the actual human, which I'm trying to show you the human boy right here. So we have that. Then we have Wick. Oh my god, I love Wick. Wick is amazing. Then you have Alexis, excuse me, which is their sister, which I love the series so much. It's awesome. So I really hope there's a book 3, because I'm super stoked to see what happens after what happened in book 2. Like, there needs to be a book 3. You can't just end it. You can't. But moving on. Okay, so the last 2 books. Okay, so first we have The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. I listened to the audiobook. I started reading this physically, but the way that it's written, I just could not get with it. Like, I could not. I wanted to DNF it, honestly. But listening to the audiobook was a lot better. I gave this 4.5 stars, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 4.5 star rating. This was so comical, so good. And it was so real and raw. There were certain scenes I was not expecting. And listening to the audiobook, you're like, okay, what's getting ready to happen? And then there was a scene with Salander. Oh my god. With the guy that's kind of like her, what is he? He like not takes care of her, but he watches over her money. That whole scene with that old man was disgusting. But her revenge made me laugh so hard. Bloomfest, I love him. Oh my god, I love him. He's a perverted man, though. I will say, he just having sex with everybody, like everybody. But this was really good, so I'm definitely gonna be rewatching the movie, because I don't remember those scenes in the movie like at all. So I definitely, now that I've read it, need to rewatch the movie and see what's different from the two. But this was so good. I'm definitely gonna continue on with the series. I loved it so much. Excuse me, it's a trilogy. Definitely gonna continue on since I do own the sequel. But loved it so much. 4.5 star rating. And the last book I have is one that I haven't finished yet. Honestly, I don't even know if I'm gonna finish it. I'm only on page 134. So yeah, and there's a total of 676 pages in this book. Pray for me. But that is going to be Warbreaker. But already, this is going to be a 5-star read. Like, it is what it is. 5 star. 5 star. Like, 4.5 or 5 star. I'm saying 5 star because I'm loving it so far. It will probably get a 5 star because I love Nightblood. I love Vasher. I love Ciri. And I love Lightsong. And Lightsong always makes me laugh. So I'm already saying 5 star. Even though I haven't finished it yet, I will be finishing it today. It is currently 2:48 as I'm recording this video. And once I get back home, I'm gonna finish this. Even if I can't read the physical copy, I do own the audiobook. The thing is, I like listening to the audiobook as I read it physically so that I can take my notes. But and I mean, my little note card is full of notes because I'm truly enjoying it, but I'm probably going to just have to suck it up and just listen to the audiobook and go back to reading this down the line. But 5 stars. I didn't finish it, but 5 stars. But that is it. Long video. 18 books. I had a great reading month. There were a lot more books that I was supposed to read that I didn't get a chance to read, so those will be featured in my December wrap-up. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a TBR. I probably will because I do have set books that I have to read for the month for review, so I may do a December TBR. But that is it for the video. Thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and all that great stuff. If you are subscribed, click the bell to stay notified. And if you are not, what are you doing? Subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.